remember that day like it was yesterday. It was August 1st, 2023. I woke up, walked into my bathroom, and stepped on the scale. I weighed 159 pounds and 8 ounces exactly. And this was the day that I finally achieved my goal of cutting 20 to 25 pounds off my frame, mostly fat, and having a six pack that I could be proud of. And it's a day that I will always remember. And so there's really nothing like having a six pack. So let's talk about how you can do it. Now, right now I'm on a bit of a bulk, so you can see, the abs are not as defined as usual, but it's part of the sacrifice of building muscle, right? I put up a picture though of that day, August 1st, of how lean I had gotten. But basically, the thing you need to understand is it's not just about losing fat and losing weight, right? Because you also want to have a muscular frame so that when you lose that fat, you actually look good. If you just try to lose fat and lose weight and you haven't built any muscle, bro, you're not going to look good. So the first key for you to understand is to get actually into resistance training, aka lifting weights. So either do that at home or go to a public gym. And if you don't have access to any of those, then I guess you could do like calisthenics and stuff, but it's not going to really work as well. So you really need to be lifting weights in order to really see your six pack really pop. Because if you just lose a bunch of fat and weight right now before having trained and actually built muscle, you're just going to look smaller and you're not actually going to have that pop that you want with the abs, right? They're not going to really come through as well. So make sure when you're doing your resistance training and weightlifting that you actually target your abs and you train your abs. The second thing that you need to do is you need to make sure that you're eating enough protein. So a lot of guys, oh yeah, protein, I've heard that before, bro. But the reality is you need to be getting like enough protein. And I'm serious about this, especially when you go on a cut, because you need to preserve your muscle mass. And so what you need to focus on is getting about 1 gram per pound of body weight. So if you weigh 150 pounds, get 150 grams of protein in. Now, there's a range of that. It doesn't have to be exactly 150 pounds, right? It could be, or 150 grams. It could be 130 grams. It could be on the lower end, because there's like an upper and lower end of how much protein you want to have. So if you're 150 pounds, it could be like anywhere from 130 grams of protein to 150 grams of protein. Just make sure that you're in a range that's pretty close to that 1 gram per pound. Another way to think of it is like 0.8 grams per pound to 1 gram per pound. Now, a lot of guys will be like, oh yeah, I'm getting enough protein in, bro. But they aren't actually tracking. So you don't actually know if you're getting enough protein in. You say you are, but you don't actually know. So what I want you to do is download the MyFitnessPal or Chronometer. And those are two apps that you can use to track your macros. And so what I want you to do is throughout your days, check and see what you're eating to see if you actually are getting enough protein. And all you got to do is basically just pull out the scanner or just type in the food that you're eating. And at the end of the day, it'll tell you how much protein you got total from the whole day. You need to do this because it's also going to be important for the next step. So before you even get into the cutting and trying to lose fat and everything, just focus first on building some muscle up and actually making sure you're eating enough protein and actually tracking it via the app, okay? Make sure you do that. You can't skip this step. Now, once you've done that, what you want to do is the next step is really focus on tracking your weight and your calories for like a week, okay? A week or 2 weeks. You need to do this because you need to find what's called your maintenance calories, okay? You need to find what your maintenance is. And so for you, if you're 180 pounds, maybe your maintenance is like 100 or like 2,500 calories, okay? That's your maintenance. That's the amount of calories you need to eat. That's the amount of food you need to eat every single day just to stay at the weight that you are right now, okay? So you got that? So you need to find your maintenance. And the way you do this, there's online calculators and stuff, but they don't really work as accurately. And so what you need to do is you need to actually track manually and see how much you really need to be eating. And so do this for a week. Every single day when you wake up, just go to the bathroom, get on the scale, record your weight within the Chronometer app. There's a little section you can add in a biometric, add in your weight. Do this every single day for 7 to 14 days. Do the same thing with your food. Every single day you need to be tracking your calories. Now you might go, oh bro, I don't want to track my calories. It's going to be too hard, bro. I can't do it. Bro, if you want to actually get a six pack, you have to be willing to make the sacrifices necessary to get it. If you aren't willing to track your calories, bro, get the fuck out of here, because you're not going to have what it takes in order to get a six pack. It's just not going to happen. There's no way for you to get that dialed in without actually tracking. There's no way. It's not going to happen. So understand that you are going to have to track your calories if you want to get down to having a six pack. If you just want to lose some fat and you just want to lose some weight, no, you don't have to track calories. But if you really want to get honed in and you want to get 10% body fat or below, you got to be tracking your calories, bro. So make sure that you're doing that. And then what you do is you find your maintenance. So let's just say you've been doing this for a week. You've been tracking your weight. It's been staying about the same. you've been tracking your calories and you found, roughly for me, after about tracking for 7 days to 14 days, I'm eating about anywhere from, 2,500, sometimes 2,300, but basically my maintenance is 2,500. What you want to then do is you are going to the gym right now, you're lifting consistently, or you're doing your home gym. You're eating enough protein. What you want to do right now, the next step after you've done this tracking phase and found your maintenance, you want to cut out 500 calories. So your maintenance is right here, right? 2,500 calories. What you want to do is subtract 500 calories from that so that you're in what's called a deficit, a calorie deficit, meaning your body isn't getting enough energy in order to keep itself at that weight. And so when you put yourself in a 500 calorie deficit, what happens is that your body now has to pull that energy from your fat stores, right? And from the energy that you have on you, because it's not getting enough. It's not getting enough to maintain its weight. So this is how you actually start to lose weight. One helpful tip for this too is when you're doing this, what I found really helpful for me was moving to a more what they call low carb, high fat diet. Meaning you're eating higher in fats and higher in proteins versus higher in carbs. And the reason why that's so helpful is because it's not keto. It's not keto where like you're going that extreme where you can't have any carbs. It's just a low carb diet. And the reason why that's so helpful is because protein is obviously really important to build muscle. And it's extremely important when you're in a cut because you need to preserve the muscle mass that you have. The second reason why it's super helpful is because when you eat a lot of fats, it's much more satiating and it keeps you fuller longer. Whereas if you eat a bunch of carbs, you're always going to be hungry. You're always going to be feeling like your stomach grumbling when you're on that cut. So a high fat, high protein will help you achieve your goal in terms of losing weight faster and being on a cut and getting a six pack. So that's what I can say about that. Now, eventually what's going to happen, bro, what's really going to suck for you is you're going to plateau. You're going to stop losing weight. You might notice for the first month or 2 months you're losing weight and you're like, wow, this is great, bro. This is fucking great. But you're going to plateau eventually. Now, the first thing is you need to be going through and making sure you're accurately tracking your calories. Okay, so when we're in that deficit, so we're at 2,500 as our maintenance, you subtract 500. So within Chronometer or MyFitnessPal, now you're logging food and making sure that you're not going above 2,000, right? Because your 2,500 is your maintenance. You need to be eating 500 below that to lose weight and to be losing fat. So you track up to 2,000 calories in Chronometer or MyFitnessPal. Do not be going over that. And you need to make sure that you're being accurate and make sure you're being honest with yourself. Because if you do mess up, it's better to know that and to log that than to be trying to fool yourself and going, oh, well, I think it was just like one little snack. The only person you're fucking over is yourself. And so if you want to be serious about this, you have to be honest with yourself about the fact that you messed up. And it's okay, because I messed up 1,000 times on my journey, but I still got there. So accurately track your calories. Do not be trying to leave things out because you're trying to feel better about yourself or whatever, because that's not going to work well in terms of you actually achieving your goal. You know what I mean? And basically at this point, when you do end up hitting that plateau, number one, make sure you've been tracking correctly. But the second thing that you can do is there's two options. You either increase your activity or you decrease the amount of food you're eating. Okay, let me say that again. There's two levers. There's basically, think of it like this. There's two levers that you can pull on. You can either push on the lever, which is like more activity, aka you're moving more, or number two, you can pull on the lever that is reduce the food intake that you're eating, right? Reduce your food intake. So these are the two options that you really are going to have in order to continue that weight loss and that fat loss. Because otherwise you're just going to stay in the same position, right? When your body stalls out like that, you have to be doing either more activity or you have to be eating less. So those are your two options. And the really important thing to do, the really game changer for me, the secret, if you would say that, would just be number one, being consistent with this and staying consistent. This is why I talk about habit trackers, right? Putting a habit tracker up on your wall and making sure every single day that, you check it off and you say, hey, I logged my calories. Right, I logged my calories for today. I didn't go over 2,000. Then you have a check mark, because then for that day you did the most important task for your goal, which was to remain in a deficit, right? Now the other thing you need to do is you're probably going to need another app. Okay, there's a lot of apps because we're doing a lot of tracking, but you're going to need a pedometer. And a pedometer app, just basically, it might actually be built into your phone, so check, because you might already have one. But basically what that does is that allows you to track your steps. And so what you're going to notice is as you start to lose weight, your body is really good at trying to keep you at the same weight. Okay, and so it's got all these like little mind Jedi tricks that it tries to pull on your ass. And what it's going to do is it's going to basically try to get you to not move. It's going to get you to try to be sedentary. So as you're losing weight, if you start noticing, hey, like I'm not as active as I used to be, you know, I'm kind of like more lethargic, or I'm kind of like I'm not actually walking or wanting to really go on hikes and stuff. The reason for that is because your body is trying to keep you from losing that weight, because it doesn't like that, right? It's a starvation. It's a starvation signal to it. So in order to override this, what you have to do is you have to track your steps. If you track your steps every single day, then you know that you're getting in the right amount of steps. So say you're in that 500 calorie deficit, right? And you notice, hey, I'm not really losing weight anymore. You start tracking your steps, you realize, hey, I'm only getting 1,000 steps in, 2,000 steps a day. Let me bump that up to 5,000. You bump that up to 5,000, now you start losing weight again, right? Because you're actually taking more activity, you're doing more activity, which is burning more calories. You get what I'm saying? And so from there, you know, you can, if you stall again, let's say you stall again, all right, well now maybe you move up to 7,500 steps, or maybe you go down to like, you know, 1,800 calories. Instead of being at 2,000, maybe you go down to 1,800. So what you want to do is you want to pull on those two levers of, you know, either walking more, and you want to be tracking all of this, obviously with the pedometer, so that you know how many steps you're walking per day. There's no way for you to guess. And then number two, you want to be reducing your intake of food. Now, one more note I want to give you before we end this video is, what was that? One more note I want to give you before we end this video is, you don't want to make drastic changes. So for example, you don't want to go from walking 5,000 steps to 10,000 steps. You don't want to go from eating 2,500 calories to eating 1,500 calories. You know what I mean? Because it's too much of a drastic change on your body. You want to be doing slow incremental changes. So for example, 5,000 steps, you move up to, you know, 7,500 steps. Then maybe you move up to 8,500. Then maybe you move up to 9,500. And you want to be doing this slow approach, because if you go too fast when you're trying to lose the weight and you're trying to get the six pack, I'm telling you right now, you can experiment with this and it might not work. But if you do it too fast, what happens is you end up in a position where you cannot eat any food and you still don't have a six pack, because you've been lowering your metabolism too fast. Okay, so what we do is we're slowly reducing the amount of calories so that you can actually lose the weight in a sustainable way. The other problem is that if you go too fast, like say you're at 2,500 and you drop down to 1,500, you do what's called a rebound, which means one day you're just like, all right, fuck it, I'm just gonna eat. And you know, and one day you have a cheat day, you eat like, you might eat like 5,000, 6,000 calories. And then all of a sudden you're back up to, you know, you just lost like a month's worth of progress or 2 months worth of progress. So it is a very kind of complex thing, but really, if you follow what I said in this video, you will definitely see some progress and you will definitely lose some weight. The main thing is to just make sure you continue tracking, okay? Track your calories, track your steps. And then when you hit these plateaus, what you do is you make these small changes, and you either pull the lever of more steps or you pull the lever of less food. And you don't really want to do them at the same time. I like to kind of just go back and forth between them, kind of like a seesaw, and just kind of shimmy my way down. I guess you could say something like that. I don't know what I'm talking about. But also you want to make sure that you have a habit tracker on your wall that actually keeps track of these habits of tracking your weight, tracking your macros, making sure you hit the right amount of steps every day, just so that it's up in front of your face and you can see it and you can check it off and make sure you're making progress. So if you want help with this, then check out the link in the description. Self-improvement coaching, or help you with your body, mindset, habits, you know, whatever goals you may have. Otherwise, just take this information and remember what I said about when you hit those plateaus. In order to break through them, you have to stay really consistent. And you have to make sure that you continually track and make sure you continually push on one of those levers to make it through. All right, bro, I hope that this helped you. I hope you're doing well, and I'll see you next time.